I think a lack of vision amongst our young people is one of the things that causes them to make short-sighted decisions. So, when you have a vision for your future, you have a vision for where it is that you ultimately want to end up or go. Um, every single day, we're presented with choices and decisions to make. When I have a vision that's guiding my choices and my decisions, it causes me in the moment to make the decision that's going to get me closer to my vision versus decisions that will get me further away from my vision. Right.
Hello, everyone. This is author Tim Brown. The book, Boys Won't Be Boys, Empowering Boys Live Uncommon in a Common World. And I'm blessed to have with me today a truly uncommon young man, Pastor Mike Young of the City of Grace Church here in Columbus, Ohio. And Pastor Mike has been on the front line during these times of social justice. But Pastor Mike didn't just show up, didn't just show up at the party. He's been involved for quite a while in the community. His church has been involved, and him personally. Mike's a graduate of Mifflin High School. He's a puncher back in the day. Then he went on to Akron, played a little football there, and he just loves Columbus. Loves Columbus. Had to get back, and I know he's married his childhood sweetheart. He's blessed with 3 children. But today, I think our conversation will probably be centered around mentoring and how important it is to help this next generation in that. But on the other side of that is, first off, I want to try to set it up how Pastor Mike got where he is today. How that charge for persons and that concern for people came. So, Pastor Mike, welcome to the show.
Coach Brown, man, it's an honor and a privilege to be with you. We're just grateful for the work that you do, not only when the camera's on, but more importantly, when the camera's off. And, I know that you've spent some time with even my oldest son. And, man, I see your fingerprints on him and kind of some of the philosophies and paradigms that you have shaped in him. So just personal thanks to you for how you've impacted my household and how you continue to impact this community.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, let's talk about you growing up in Columbus, Ohio. How'd your family get here and all that, and how'd you become a puncher?
Yeah, man, really a unique story, man. My father is from Gifford, Florida, which is a segregated portion of Vero Beach, Florida. And my parents were a little bit older when they had me. My father was 41, my mother was 42, which means when my father was being raised, he was being raised under the Jim Crow laws of the South. And then my mother is from upstate New York, and she's a Caucasian woman. And they both actually came here because of their careers and because of work. Met as union stewards. They were both advocates for other people and had a passion for being a voice for those who felt like they were voiceless in that space. And that's kind of where their relationship first kind of took traction. And November 6, 1978. The product of that was Michael Young. So, man, both of my mother and my father, man, are very, very passionate people. They were very, very integral. They were principle based. And both of them were stubborn fighters for equality in the spaces that they worked in. So.
Yeah, you're on here telling your age, brother. You're in here dropping the date and everything, man.
If I didn't, man, the gray beard did. So
that would give you away. That would give you away.
Absolutely.
So as you grew up, who were some of those mentors in your life, and what were some of those lessons you learned from them?
Yeah. I had numerous mentors, but really my hero and the person who I looked up to the most was my father. My mother and my father were never married. I never lived in the same household with both of them at the same time. But my father was very present in my life. And when I became of age to go to school, my parents actually made a very strategic decision. From the time that I was, born until I was 5 or 6 years old, I lived with my mother. But when it was time for me to go to school, my parents made the decision for me to go live with my father during the week. And during my schooling time, and I would be with my mother on the weekend, and so I was with a man who was a very, very active parent. He was a very active father. He was very present in my life. He was one who showed me a tremendous amount of love, and I think it's kind of shaped me as who I am as a man, in the sense that my dad was tender, but he was also tough. It was nothing for my dad to tell me that he loved me. It was nothing for my dad to express just adoration and love towards me, his son. It was nothing for my dad to give me a kiss on the cheek or give me a pat on the back. So being raised in that environment, man, this was the man that I looked up to. He was my hero. And he was somebody who really shaped who I am as a man in many, many ways. He had great virtues, but I also learned from his vices as well. And my father was probably the most authentic person I ever met in my life. My father never tried to cover up maybe the parts of his life that other people would try to hide. He thought all of them could be lessons. So he was a phenomenal father. He probably wasn't the best husband, but he could talk in a very, very honest and transparent and candid way. So even in his shortcomings, he still was teaching me. And, man, he was present with me, man. And, along with my mother, my biggest fan until the Lord called him home in 2012. So, man, my father was most certainly, my hero and kind of my number one guiding force and mentor. But my father was also such a secure individual that he was comfortable with other people pouring into my life. He was comfortable with other men pouring into my life. You alluded to it. I played football all the way through college. And one of my high school coaches, a man named Don Poff, actually a white man, he would take myself and a couple of my teammates. He lived off in Delaware. He lived in a real big house. And he would actually begin to expose us to things that I hadn't been exposed to before, and just poured love into us, guidance, wisdom. So he was a mentor to me. He was somebody who probably established when it came to just working out and being, you referenced that competitive nature. He helped cultivate that competitive nature in me, of really hating to lose more than liking winning. So he was a mentor. And then there were other men in the community. My father was a man for 30 plus years. He worked 2 jobs. So he worked an 8-hour-a-day job, and then he worked a 4-hour-a-day job. He was a working man. So kind of speaks to him being that mentor and that hero to me. But because he was so committed to being a provider, he had to lean on other people and sometimes other men to either watch me, be a babysitter, or kind of be that mentor to me. So there were men in my community and men in my neighborhood who I had the opportunity to look up to, men who were positive influences. And then as I got older, my father-in-law has been in my life for the last 25 years. My father-in-law is probably the hardest working man I've ever met in my life. And he was somebody who truly, truly loved the Lord. And I had the opportunity to see that not only in a public setting, but I had a chance to watch him operate and navigate as a husband and a father behind closed doors. And, he was somebody who definitely impacted me. And then, there are even as I began to get older and older, people who influenced me in ministry. One we just talked about him was Bishop Brian Keith Williams. He gave me, he set off a fire inside of me as related to studying and pursuing the things of the Lord. And as I grew in ministry, Bishop Timothy Clark has been just a tremendous blessing and gem, and has adopted me as his own, and has been a just incredible father figure to me. So, man, I'm a man who, they say your network is your net worth. And I'm a very, very wealthy man because of the people who have been in my network as it relates to being mentors to me.
Yeah, as we look at this next generation, and I've watched you grow into that leader in the community. What do you feel like your role is now in the community as being that leader? What do you?
Yeah, what I want to be. I want to be an authentic example. I want to be an authentic example. I think too many times, especially in this social media generation, man, we have people who only present the best of them and not the worst of them.
Mm.
They only present their successes and not their failures. They only present their strengths and not their weaknesses. I want to be somebody who, my generation can look to and see that, as much as we seek to be heroes, we're also equally human. And even in the midst of your humanity, God can still use you in significant ways. I want to be somebody who inspires my generation. I want people to be able to look to me and see that if he could do it, I can do it as well. I want to be somebody who's an uplifter of my generation. The Bible said it about David. It said that David served his generation. I want to serve my generation. And one of the things that I believe I'm assigned to is to help other people discover their purpose. I believe purpose is incredibly important. If you listen to our ministry or motivational speeches that we do, somewhere in there, more often than not, it's going to be words that speak to purpose and words that speak to destiny. Because ultimately, I believe if this generation can grab a hold of the fact that they were created with a purpose, and when God created them, there was destiny assigned to their life, regardless what environment they were birthed into. I believe that serves as a source to inspire them to do better and to be better.
That's awesome. You are very much involved in the social justice movement in the city. What would you say? What are some of the goals of the movement?
Yeah. So, I think as we talk about that piece around purpose and destiny, what are the goals? At the end of the day, it's not protest. It's not necessarily preaching per se, but it's policy changes. It's law changes. Now, law changes in themselves, to me, really aren't enough. It's the application of laws being applied to all parties, all cultures, all communities, and all ethnicities in an equitable way. It was Malcolm X who said it. He said it when people were talking about creating new laws even back in his day. He said the problem is we don't need new laws. We need equal application of the existing laws. So I think ultimately the goal is how do we get equal application of the existing laws? Now, there may be some need for new policies and things of that nature, but at the end of the day, it comes down to policy application. And typically associated with policies is finances and there's opportunities. So to create equitable opportunities, not just equal, but equitable opportunities for our community. And then at the same time, create a sense of self-worth and strength within our community to where if we could stand up together, I think we could accomplish a tremendous amount. So those are some of the things that we want to do. I think unity is an incredibly important piece, though. If we could come together.
That's good. That's good. As we see the violence going on in our city amongst our people, particularly amongst young men, what do you see as missing in the lives of these young guys? What's missing in there? Well,
yeah.
Where's that void?
So I think there's multiple things, but I think one of the major pieces is spoken about in the book of Proverbs. Solomon said, "My people perish one for lack of knowledge." That's Hosea, but then he also said in Proverbs, he said, "Without vision, people perish." I think a lack of vision amongst our young people is one of the things that causes them to make short-sighted decisions. So, when you have a vision for your future, you have a vision for where it is that you ultimately want to end up or go. Every single day we're presented with choices and decisions to make. When I have a vision that's guiding my choices and my decisions, it causes me in the moment to make the decision that's going to get me closer to my vision versus decisions that will get me further away from my vision, right?
Well, what challenges issue to men how we can come alongside and mentor these young guys? What role can we play in that, helping fill in those voids?
Yeah. So, when God came into the Garden of Eden, he asked a very powerful and profound question. He said, "Adam, where art thou?" That name Adam actually means man. So he said, "Man, where are you?" Now, anytime God asks a question, he's not asking a question so he can be informed. He's asking a question to bring it to the attention of the person who hears him asking the question. And I think God is still asking that same question of you. He's asking that same question of me. He's asking that same question of the men of our generation. Adam or man, where art thou? You know, statistics show that when a man is in the household, the likelihood of graduating is significantly higher. The likelihood of avoiding teen pregnancy is significantly higher. The financial prosperity and success of that family is significantly higher. The likelihood of incarceration is significantly lower. Like the statistics show that if men would assume their rightful place within our households, rightful place within our children's lives, that it would dramatically impact and alter the course of their future. So, you know, I challenge every man to do what it is that God has created you to do. He's created us to lead. He's created us to be the head. He's created us to be on the front lines. Even if you look at a practical analogy, even in the military, they didn't put women on the front lines on the battlefield. They put men on the front lines. It didn't mean that the female's role was any less. It just was different. And I believe God is challenging us to get on the front lines in the fight for our young people, in the fight for our communities, and to be the men that He's called us to be.
Wow, that's an awesome challenge. The one that needs to be heard and needs to be adhered to. So it's definitely time to get to work. You know, because
Yes, sir.
We're in a challenging time. We all know this, but we know that God has a plan with that vision. Pastor Mike, I want to thank you for your time, and I appreciate the words of wisdom. I want you to expound lastly on a quote that's one of your favorite quotes. And I think this is for men to really understand that the price of greatness is great responsibility. What does that mean to you?
Yes, sir. The price of greatness is responsibility. I think all of us say that we want to be great, but the reality is associated with greatness is, as you just quoted, great responsibility. If I could maybe use a biblical reference, God said, to whom much is given, much is going to be required. So, you know, you can't have the blessing without the burden. You can't have the success without some of the suffering that goes along with it, or the sacrifice that goes along with it. So as men, as mentors, as leaders in our community, there's great responsibility that's going to come our direction. And I think we need to embrace that. And I think we need to hold each other accountable to those responsibilities that God is calling us to, that our families are calling us to, that our community is calling us to. So I want to be great. So I accept the challenge. And you know, hopefully people like yourself will hold me accountable to that.
Wow. Well, I appreciate your time and those great words of wisdom. And I'm looking forward to continue to watch you grow into the man that God has called you to be. And we know, as people say, God's not through with you yet. No, that's right. Well, blessings to you and your family, Pastor Mike. Thanks for your time.
Coach, thank you so much, man. Much love and many blessings to you and yours as well.